Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Non-Soccer Nerds. Tonight, you're not going to like us one because we're going to be talking the Hulk family tonight. But as always, I'm Tim, joined by Ian. How's it going, buddy?
Things are going pretty good. Wrapping up a kind of a hectic week. Things
Yep.
have been pretty busy around here lately, but you know, it is what it is. And as an adult, all I can do is whine.
Yeah, just bite the pillow and deal with
Yeah, yeah.
it. That's welcome to adult
Well,
life.
yes. But anyway, on a less dour note, we're going to be talking, as Tim mentioned, the Incredible Hulk today, or rather, the Hulk family, the Hulking family. Um, Not necessarily to be confused with Hulk Hogan. Oh yeah, brother.
Oh yeah,
We're
brother.
talking. We are talking about obviously Bruce Banner and the many incarnations of Hulk.
Yep. And
So,
there have been a
um,
lot over the years.
yeah, and even the person behind the Hulk, the human side of the Hulk, has changed over the years.
Yeah.
Not only has it changed, but there are also different other versions of the Hulk.
Yep.
Don't necessarily count Blonsky as one of them. He
I mean,
is
he's a
his
10.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's his own thing. Kind of spawned from somewhat like the Hulk, but he's definitely his own thing. Has never really worn the moniker of Hulk.
Right. But still, still a
So
neat character within that kind of pantheon.
yeah, I would say so. So obviously, the most famous of the Hulks is probably going to be Bruce Banner. Has been the penultimate Hulk, one of the original Avengers. Not only in the cinematic universe, but also in the comic universe.
Yep. Kind of
The
a
Hulk has
long-standing character.
yes. So let's see. When was the Hulk first introduced? First published in May of 1962. Was the original appearance of the Hulk, and he was actually gray
Yeah.
to
Due to a
begin with.
printing error.
Yes.
Yep. But yes, well, I mean, and ironically, years later, they made Gray Hulk another sub persona within Hulk slash Banner, and kind of homage to that printing error because he was originally supposed to be green always, but because of a printing error with the inks and the dyes, he came out as gray and was gray for a little bit actually.
Right.
But was not supposed to be.
Exactly. And so obviously the main thing about Hulk is his mass and
Yep.
his um, unending strength.
Yes, an unending
It's
rage.
said an unending rage. It's said that the Hulk is indestructible. In so much that he only gets stronger as he gets angrier. Uh, he and is has been kind of an on again off again hero, anti-hero, and sometimes villain
Yeah. Well, I
within
mean, look at
the
the whole World War Hulk storyline. I mean, it was, which is like the upper tier of what anybody has ever seen strength wise Hulk be. Like he was the well, arguably the main villain of it. But I mean, the whole story was about other heroes choosing his fate for him, and just like one of those who's the real villain things. But Hulk was the one doing all the
right,
destruction. I mean, we could do
right.
a whole series on just the Planet Hulk and World War Hulk story, but try to keep it simple. Just a little primer entry for you here.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, the Hulk is. We talked about Bruce Banner, him being, the Hulk received his powers through, accidents with gamma radiation, which has made him, you know, able to transform into this massive rage machine. Sometimes uncontrollably, sometimes controllably. It kind of depends on the story. There's occasions where the personalities are almost merged.
Yeah,
Um,
like we kind
and
of saw
they're
in Endgame with Smart Hulk.
yeah,
was a
Yeah.
kind of nod to the comics, where he called himself Professor Hulk, where it was all of Hulk's brawn, but with all of Banner's brain. So I mean, he was incredibly smart and incredibly strong. Now, and Endgame did kind of tweak it up a little bit. That Hulk is it's much more a strong Banner than it is a smart Hulk. Even though they call him Smart Hulk, he wasn't,
Yeah.
at least to me, he didn't seem to be as strong as regular Hulk. I mean, even his stature looks considerably smaller too. But it was a different take. It was kind of they were showing that it was more of a merging and meeting in a middle ground versus how the
Right.
comics did it, where it was a true fusion of the. But I liked it. A lot of fans they didn't like the. It's not that they didn't like Smart Hulk in the movies. They didn't like the fact that it was literally explained with a like 5 second throwaway line of, oh yeah, yeah, after looking into it and researching, we found a way to live harmoniously, and then that's literally all you get. And the
I don't
I
necessarily know that I needed more than that.
well, it would have been neat, like even like a minute long like flashback of showing like how they got to that point. For me, like we know what happens. They figured out a way to work together. I would have liked
Yeah.
to see like maybe even like a little 1 minute like flashback showing that. What I'm hoping, and this is kind of the reason that we brought up Hulk, is recently the first full trailer for the She-Hulk show came. I'm hoping because they have shown that Bruce as Smart Hulk is in that. I'm hoping that they kind of show how that works, or through his interactions with She-Hulk, we learn a little bit more about that, and also learn why
Right.
later he's no longer Smart Hulk. That's the one I'm curious about.
Maybe they had a lovers' quarrel, disagreement. Um, you know.
Hulk not like redhead, not want to go on date.
Well,
Come on, big guy. You know how
redhead.
hard it is to get a Tinder profile when it's both of us? They think we're a gay couple.
You know how many? Do you know how many stores sell purple pants? Not very many.
Right? But no, I mean, Hulk has been obviously a fan favorite character for a while. Um, another of the legendary creations by the legendary himself, Stan Lee, rest his soul. Well, apparently, if you've seen the news lately, apparently maybe not rest his soul. Have you?
Yeah.
Marvel, as a side note, Marvel has worked out a deal with the Stanley. I don't know if it's the Stanley Foundation or pretty much whatever entity owns his likeness and image. I'm assuming it's ran by his family. They've reached a deal to use his likeness, his voice, his image, his signature, everything about him in future Marvel properties, whether that's movies, animation, video games, and even the Disney park. On one hand, I'm torn because it's going to be continuing, keeping that legacy of Stan going. But at the same time, like his legacy, we see his legacy. We see those characters. We see all the cameos from the old movies. I don't want this to turn into a honoring his memory and into a cash grab fan service thing. I mean, when it comes
I
to
mean,
celebrities of that caliber that have passed on, it's a very fine line between honoring them and making money off of it. I've got a moral issue with that, the latter. That's
I
my soapbox.
feel like I feel like Kevin Feige would not do that. Like it would not be a cash grab. I feel like there is a reason behind it, but I can't. I don't know.
Right, we're not in the
It's
boardroom of
hard to
Disney to
say.
figure that one out.
Right. I wish I was.
But dude,
Um,
you and me both. I would love to be on that board.
yes.
Selling my soul every day. Uh, now I just work at a job where I
Yeah.
sell my body every day. Phrasing.
Phrasing? Are we still
No,
doing phrasing?
no. But no. So back to Hulk. As Ian had alluded to at the top of the show, there's not just been Bruce Banner. There's been obviously his cousin Jen Walters, the She-Hulk. Hulk himself has several children, depending on which comic line you read, all the way down everything from his own children down to, if you read the Old Man Logan story, his children with his cousin, the Hillbilly Hulks. That's a thing
Yep.
that happened. Um, I mean, there's Red Hulk, which is a completely different character. Hulk himself has had
I
several.
believe that was Red Hulk was
Thunderbolt Ross.
Thunderbolt Ross?
Yep, Thunderbolt
Yes,
Ross.
Thunderbolt Ross.
Um, But even Hulk himself has had several personas. Like I had mentioned, the Gray Hulk is its own persona now. There's obviously the Green Hulk. There's Professor Hulk. There is what is his name? Blue, which is Hulk backwards, which is like an evil Hulk. There's the Immortal Hulk. I mean, it's there's more than that. But
I mean, there's the Amadeus Chow Hulk,
yep.
which was
Or was it Amadeus
the
Chow or Amadeus Cho? I don't remember. I know it's
whatever.
Amadeus. Amadeus,
Yeah,
Amadeus. But who was the
Amadeus.
what was he called? The totally awesome, all new, incredible Hulk or something like that. Like it was his
Yeah.
own name that he gave him. But like he was
Yes.
Hulk. I mean, there's even characters that are off from that. There's a red She Hulk. I mean, it's he has almost as many like Hulk spinoff as Batman does Robins and Bat Family, as we've alluded to in a prior episode. Go watch it or listen to it. Um, so there's a lot of characters that fall under like the Hulk banner. I
Yeah.
think I inadvertently made a
Yeah.
joke there.
Probably, but as we alluded to, the Hulk hasn't always been the nicest guy in the world. That's kind of his thing, right? The lean, mean rage machine.
Yeah.
Um, he has duked it out with Wolverine several times. At that point,
Yeah.
Wolverine or the Hulk literally ripped him in half.
Yep.
And then threw his body parts onto different mountains.
Which,
Um,
I mean, can you imagine how pissed off Wolverine to be? He's literally having to claw and drag his way up a mountain to his own legs so he can walk down and kick Hulk's ass.
right. Hulk has gone toe to toe with Ultron several times. Having either broken Ultron, dented the adamantium
Which is
components
saying
of him.
something.
Right. Again, there truly is there has been no limit to the Hulk's strength.
Yep. I mean,
Um,
in multiple comics, they even flat out say that the upper limits of it are unknown.
Right.
And nobody wants to test how high that can go because of the fact that the higher it gets, the more angry he gets, the harder he's going to be to control to continue the test.
Right. And the other, but if I can offer some criticism here, it almost feels like that's their cheap Deus Ex Machina
I mean, in a way, yeah.
way of getting out of things. It's like, oh man, we're getting our asses handed to us by Galactus. Someone go piss off the Hulk.
Right.
Scott, go pee in his mouth again.
Go pee in his mouth again. Ew. But I mean, like counterpoint to that though, because of that, they've had to come up with creative ways to have the Hulk still be vulnerable. I mean, they've done everything from, ways that like instantly calm him down, revert him into Banner, making him go unconscious instantly, which like just renders him useless. Taking away his gamma abilities, weakening his gamma abilities, enemies that can absorb gamma off of him. So the stronger he gets, the madder he gets, the more gamma radiation he puts off, the stronger the enemy he's fighting becomes. So I mean, it's they've had to get creative with it, but like in a way, yeah, I do agree that it does almost make him, to steal a line from his newer series, an immortal Hulk. I mean,
Right.
even in the Immortal Hulk series, like his body was cut up and dissected, and the parts literally crawled back together and reassembled him. Like that's the whole thing of the new comic is Hulk himself can't be killed. And I haven't read Immortal Hulk personally. That's just kind of my basic knowledge of it. But yeah, it's an interesting character. I mean, the Hulk series in general has gone from your stereotypical, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, man versus monster story, to some of the newer ones actually have dealt with Bruce's psychological disorders, some of his, some of the various conditions that he has. That it's not just the gamma that made him Hulk, that he actually has, in some comics, multiple personalities, and they're all constantly vying for control over, the body that Bruce is the main pilot of. And you even see some comics like that where one of the Hulk personalities will come out and refuse to revert back to Banner or refuse to let another one of the various internal Hulk personas take over. So I mean, it is a he is a character with a lot of depth to him, especially in the newer series. But it's interesting to see how the character has grown from, like I said, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, up to a superpowered, non-stoppable monster who needs to go see a therapist.
Right. Um, yeah, and some of it you could explain as Hulk's just had a bad run of it.
Yeah.
He's definitely gotten the short end of the stick
Yep.
on several occasions, sometimes a literal stick. Um, but he some of that's also self-made just because of how difficult he is as a character uh, to work with,
Right.
and a character being, personality to work with. It
Yeah.
could be multiple personalities,
Yeah.
but but again, there's been different versions of the Hulk out there, and we talked a little bit about She-Hulk momentarily. She was created. I think the original incarnation was she got a blood transfusion
Yeah.
from Bruce, and that created She-Hulk.
Yep.
Um,
She was actually in the original story of it. She was shot by a mobster, seriously injured, got a blood transfusion from her cousin Bruce, and his gamma irradiated blood kind of mutated her and gave her Hulk-like abilities. Now, like originally, if memory serves me correct, it was a bit different than Bruce. Bruce, rage triggered his transformation. Her, while rage did trigger it, she still maintained all of her faculties about. She was still, and
right,
keep in mind, she is a Harvard Law graduate. She has a law degree. That was her thing. She was a lawyer, so she's fairly intelligent. But she maintained all that intelligence when she became She-Hulk. Later versions of it, I know more recently, she's taken on more of a Hulk-like persona when she's transformed. Typically, before as She-Hulk in her original appearance, she was just a very tall, fit version of what she looked like when she was in her normal Jen Walters form. The newer one, she's
right.
more like Hulk. She's big, bulky, not as intelligent, more like Hulk, but as a female. So it's kind of neat to see how they've kind of tried to keep her, fresh and changed up since what was it, 1979? Savage She-Hulk #1 came out, and here we are now in 2022. Um, but yeah, the as we kind of talked about, they did put out a trailer for the new She-Hulk show, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and it does look quite a bit different than the past couple Marvel Disney Plus shows we've gotten, which have all been very, I don't want to say dark, but they've been less lighthearted in tone. I mean, they've had some fun parts, but they've been less lighthearted. This looks to be almost almost on the level of Guardians of the Galaxy as far as tone, I would say, where it's much more lighthearted. It's family is definitely a big, story point in this. But you're
Right.
still getting that superhero action, but you're getting that fun kind of, I don't want to say campy, but you're getting that fun kind of goofball style to it. Which I watched the trailer and I think it looks good. I know a lot of people have been complaining about the way the CG looks in it. And while I will say that it's not up to caliber of an MCU theatrical release, they probably don't have the budget of an MCU theatrical release, and I don't think the CG looks bad for what is essentially a serialized TV show. That's just my
Right.
2 cents. So I don't think it looks terrible. I mean, they could definitely spend these next couple months before it comes out in August, I think is when it comes out. They could definitely
I think
spend,
so.
yeah, they could definitely spend that time putting a little bit of polish on it, but I don't think it looks bad. The actor they have playing Jen, I think, is going to do great for the part. What I see in the trailer, it looks like she's really leaning into it. We did see the
Hmm.
return of Mark Ruffalo as Smart Hulk, so it kind of gives you an idea of where her story at least starts in the MCU timeline, in theory. Marvel
Right.
does like to throw us curveballs. Um, but yeah, she has been, not quite as long lived of a character as Hulk, but has still definitely had a good run starting in '79. And she herself has even spawned, a red She-Hulk to counter Hulk's Red Hulk. She's been a member of the Fantastic Four. She's been a member of the Avengers. I mean, she's kind of I don't want to say gotten around because that's not a good not a good way to phrase it. She's been in a lot of important Marvel stables.
Yeah. Well, I mean the She-Hulk Attorney at Law show also sees the triumphant return of Tim Roth as Abomination.
Yep.
I shouldn't say return because he's technically had appearances in other Marvel properties such as Shang-Chi
Yep.
as Abomination.
Yep.
So, there is some connective tissue there. However, he's going to play, I believe, a more central or critical role, not to be confused with the D&D podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Abomination
Anyway.
will not be in Critical Role. He is a non-player character.
Correct. But it'll be interesting to see how they all play together. I'm kind of curious if they're going to have Bruce Banner's Hulk interact with Abomination and all, and how they're going to do that type of interaction, because they've obviously shared no screen time in the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe. Obviously, they had that thing with the Edward Norton movie, Hulk movie, which predated the modern MCU. So
it is still technically considered part of it,
right,
but not directly referenced. So it is. I am curious to see, now that we've got those two in the same property. I am curious to see how, or even if they're going to address that beyond. Do you remember the last time we fought? Blah 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 blah. Trash talk. Even something like that, acknowledging that this is not the first time they've met. I think even that for me would be enough. But yeah, it is nice to see that character come back, and I mean they've even confirmed that the Abomination we saw in Shang-Chi is the same Abomination from the older Hulk movie, but the Gamma has mutated him farther to make him look more how he does in the comics, and less like whatever that thing was in Incredible Hulk.
I think the thing in Incredible Hulk was the final boss from the original Resident Evil movie. Or Resident Evil. Yeah. I'm sorry, Resident Evil game.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Oof. Anyway, not always. It wasn't pretty, but then again, for some reason, the Abomination also has those weird like fish ears.
Yeah, which is like always an interesting choice. But like it gave him an iconic look,
Right. Yeah, so there's other characters that are involved, that are in the not necessarily the MCU, but in comic canon, that share similar namesakes. There's the Hulkling.
Yep.
Which is actually no relation to Hulk.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. He is a shapeshifter. He's part Skrull, part I think human. He can change shape. I believe, part of the Young Avengers. Yes, he's part of the Young Avengers. So he's in no way associated with the Incredible Hulk, but it just shares a very similar namesake. So
right. Well, then there's one of Hulk's actual children, Scar, who is from the Planet Hulk storyline, who is technically half alien. So I mean, you do have, and there are other actual biological children of Hulk, but I think that for me anyway, Scar is the most well-known one. Take Conan the Barbarian and give him Hulk's powers, and there you go, there's Scar. I mean, that's pretty much it's Barbarian Hulk.
Yeah, no, I mean you're not wrong. Planet Hulk and World War Hulk are actually two of my absolute favorite series in the greater Marvel comic book universe. I just think they're fun and entertaining and very well written. And very dark.
I mean, Planet Hulk was so well done that pretty much a third of Thor Ragnarok was Planet Hulk.
Yeah,
I mean the whole thing with the gladiator arena and the various champions, even down to characters like Korg and Meek, are all from Planet Hulk, which at the time, due to licensing and property ownership, we couldn't get an actual Planet Hulk film, so that was as close as they could get. Which is also another reason why you haven't seen Hulk have his own standalone, full blown MCU movie, is because of all the ownership rights shared with Universal. Hulk can be a supporting character. He can be the sidekick character. He can be, he just can't be, the movie can't be titled about him, and he can't be the main character. But I think, haven't those rights lapsed now?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and
Yeah.
check.
Because, I mean, obviously, we're getting the She Hulk show, which is primarily a Hulk character, with Hulk
Right.
once again playing sidekick. Or not even necessarily sidekick, playing a secondary character.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, I mean, the Hulk is he's an entertaining and interesting character. Has served as a larger component to the MCU for many years. Um, and it's just one of those. I don't think we could have a Marvel without Hulk.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a Marvel without Cap or
Right.
Iron Man or Spider Man.
Yep.
He is that deeply entrenched into the larger mythos of the MCU.
Right.
The Marvel universe, I should say.
That's very true.
So,
I mean, and
but
we didn't even really get a chance to, I mean, like, we talked about Abomination, but I mean, we didn't really get to talk about the just countless number of other gamma powered villains that the Hulk has to face. I mean, there's a lot of those. It really seems like the EPA in the Marvel universe is really lacking, because there's all these characters that are created by just random gamma radiation that happens to be all like, oh, you see, hear what happened to Billy in the park the other day? Yeah, he got hit by gamma rays. He grew a third head. That was an inadvertent joke. I'm sorry about that.
they they even kind of make mention of that. Remember in Spider-Man: No Way Home, when Sandman and
Oh, you got
Electro
hit by
were
radiation
talking.
too?
How did you get your powers? I fell into a particle accelerator. How about you? Radioactive eels. Huh? You think they'd have better safety standards?
I think they'd have guardrails or something. It's like every Disney property refuses to have guardrails, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel.
Exactly. Is the Empire really saving that much money by not putting guardrails on the over the chasm of that leads to the volcano?
You'd think.
How many friggin' stormtroopers have died because somebody tripped?
Yep. I mean, seriously.
Anyway.
But yeah, I mean,
All right.
Yeah, Hulk has. There's a lot to Hulk. A lot we didn't even cover in this. This is just kind of like we've done in some of our other superhero themed show episodes. It's just been kind of a primer into like the basics of the Hulk or whoever.
Right. Exactly. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up
I think so.
today, and we'll come back and catch you obviously next week. But thank you for joining us as we explored the Incredible Hulk, and we look forward to talking to you again. We wish you all have a good morning, good evening, and good night, whenever it is that you're listening to us. And of course, thank you to our sponsors, Anchor.fm. You can catch us on social media, facebook.com/non-sequitur-nerds, where we post frequently and make often updates. Twitter @non-sequitur-nerd. Maybe, no, not really, on twitch.tv/non-sequitur-nerds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and also catch the live video recordings on youtube.com/non-sequitur-nerd. Alrighty. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up then, and we'll see you all next time. So thank you, and for the Non Sequitur Nerds, as always, I'm Ian.
I'm Tim. Night, everybody.